Welcome to Book Huddle. I'm your host, Karen Reader with Readgab. Today we are joined by two authors because they co-authored this book, Let It Glow, Marissa Meyer and Joanne Levy. This is so much fun. I love seasonal reads. They make me happy. I read a bunch last year, and so I was so excited when I saw it. I can't remember if I got it on NetGalley or wherever I found it, but I was so excited to have another seasonal read. So we're going to talk holidays, and we're going to talk bringing two holidays together and working on a project together because I've been so curious about how authors do this because sometimes I'm like, I might have a hard time sharing a book because I would want to be like, oh, my project, right? Maybe I'm a little, I don't know, controlling, but it probably helps that it has two points of view. So let's do an elevator pitch and have you guys maybe jointly, since we've got a two point of view here, give us a pitch of what Let It Glow is about.
Oh, usually Marissa does it.
Okay,
So,
Marissa, you chime in, and then Joanne, we're going to have you add your 2 cents to
okay,
our
fair.
pitch before
That
we go.
sounds good. All right. So, yes, thank you for having us for starters. This is really fun to get to talk about the book with you. So Let It Glow came out in October, and it is the story of two girls. We have Aviva, who has a big personality. She loves to be the star, the center of attention. She dreams of someday performing on Broadway. And on the other side, we have Holly, who is the total opposite. She is very shy, very introspective. And Holly's grandpa was a famous murder mystery writer. And so Holly dreams of someday being a writer, just
So
like her
fun. Love
grandfather.
that aspect.
And one day these girls are both at the tryouts for a local holiday pageant, and they happen to bump into each other and realize, wow, you look a lot like me. And they come to realize that they are actually identical twins who were separated at birth and have been adopted into two different families. Aviva's family celebrates Hanukkah, and Holly's family celebrates Christmas. And so the girls hatch this wonky idea that they are going to switch homes for the holidays and learn more about each other and their families and their traditions. And of course, nothing could possibly go wrong.
Why would it when twins switch families? Everything's going to go smoothly.
Yes.
All right, so Joanne, I'm on the elevator with you, and you add your 2 cents to why I should get this book in the hands of my kids.
Well, my 2 cents is hilarity ensues, of course. It's been compared to The Parent Trap and called The Parent Trap meets a Hallmark holiday movie.
All right.
And it's just joyful fun. And kids are just going to love the craziness and the zaniness. And it's just a warm hug for the holidays.
Oh, I love that description because it did. It felt like a warm hug. It's perfect. So much fun.
Thank you.
So, how did this go? I'm guessing you're representing our Hanukkah because you've got our Hanukkah hat on, Joanne, and Marissa represented Christmas. So you each represented a girl in the writing. Is that how the writing process worked?
Yeah, in the end, that's how it happened. So how it started was that I actually was talking to my agent one day, and she said, people are asking for holiday books. Why don't you write a holiday book? And we sort of brainstormed. I'm Jewish, so obviously the Hanukkah. And I kind of figured to make the book have a broad appeal, we would have to have the Christmas aspect in it as well. Um, and so we sort of hatched this plan, my agent and I, that we would have twins separated at birth. One celebrates Hanukkah, the other celebrates Christmas. Um, and I fully intended to write the whole thing on my own. And I got about 4 chapters in and realized I don't know what people love about Christmas. Raised in a Jewish home, I know all there is to know about Hanukkah and how joyful that can be and what makes it joyful. But other than what I see on commercials at Christmas, I really didn't know. So I realized I was in over my head and I needed to find a co-writer. And so I thought about it for about 2 seconds And I realized that Marissa was the one and only obvious choice for a few reasons. One, she hasn't written middle grade, but she has expressed interest in it before. Also, she has adopted twin girls. So, with the adoption aspect, and I'm adopted, but I don't have adopted twins. So, that was number two for her. And number three, she loves Christmas. And she's the first one to admit it. She's got that.
Like a lot. I really
And
like
if you
Christmas.
scroll back on her Instagram from last year at this time, you'll see that she loves Christmas. So obviously, she was the perfect person to write it with me.
That is so fun. So, both successful writers. I've looked over your work, both of you. I've read Let It Glow, but this was my first exposure to your work, Joanne. But I'm so excited to read some of yours. I knew as I was reading through some of the synopsises, I was like, okay, Joanne brought the Jewish because you have some great representations of Jewish culture on there. One that I can't wait to read about the funeral home,
Mm.
of course.
That's
And then
my favorite Joanne book.
oh, have you read that? Okay. So, and then of course, I don't even have the dust jacket, but the Cinder Lunar Chronicles that Marissa just, those blew up for young adults. So you're both very accomplished writers. So, Marissa, tell me when she approached you, tell me your response.
Yeah, so Joanne sent me this email telling me about the book and her idea and, asking if I'd be interested in collaborating. And I think my initial response was call back later.
Right? Had you
I can't
ever
even
co-authored a book
process.
before, either of you?
No, nope.
Yeah.
Neither of us had co-written anything.
Okay.
Um, and when she approached me, I was neck deep in writing With a Little Luck, which was my contemporary romance that came out earlier this year. And I had also just signed a new 5 book contract with my publisher. So it was like really terrible timing, and I thought I can't even imagine adding anything more to
Right.
my plate.
Right.
So
And how old
let
are the
me get through this
twins?
book and I'll get back to you. I'm sorry?
Your own twins. How old are your twins, Marissa?
They're 10.
Okay,
They
so
just turned 10.
perfect for what you wrote about, just at that
Perfect.
age, right?
Perfect age. No, and that's so even though I told Joanne like I need time to process this,
Right.
It stayed with me. I loved the concept for all the reasons that Joanne already mentioned, the holidays, twins, adoption, a sister story. And then also as a mom, like I am reading so much middle grade with my kids these days, and I love the genre, I love the voice, and just thought this is the perfect project for me to be a part of. And so once I got With a Little Luck off my plate, I went back and considered it more seriously and then said, yes, let's go ahead and do it and see what happens.
So fun. So far. And you guys have a working relationship anyways, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Alrighty.
we've
So
known each other
you
for about 8 years.
nice.
Joanne is my author assistant. She does virtual assistant work for lots of authors, and I'm one of the lucky ones.
Nice. And so it wasn't, was it, you were familiar with each other. So it wasn't
Oh,
too
yeah.
hard to step into a role of working together. So that made a good put for you guys as well. All right, well, that's so fun. So, and I like in the book that it was a neat way to learn about the Jewish culture because, contrary, like you, Joanne, you said that you grew up very much, your family observed Hanukkah and actively participated in the traditions, yes. But in the book, they didn't do it as much, right? It was the girl was trying, sorry, tell me who represents the Jewish side in the book, the character's name.
So that's Aviva.
Aviva. So
Yeah.
Aviva, she has to like convince her parents that it's like, come on, let's have a traditional Hanukkah, right? And so, did you do this? I'm guessing to really help those reading understand the story, or why did you choose to do a family who hadn't done
Yeah,
much?
absolutely. So in my home, it was sort of a sometimes it was a little phoned in,
Okay.
not quite as much as Aviva's family, but Hanukkah isn't such a big holiday. I mean, that I put that in the
Right.
book, and that's true. It's sort of a response to Christmas,
Okay.
and not wanting your kids to feel left out, so you do a little something. So it was not a huge deal in my house. I think sometimes I wished it was more of a big deal, so maybe that's where I was
Where
channeling
the driving, cool.
myself. Yeah.
Cool. All right. The bigger hall are Passover, and then I was reading the one about, oh, she had the mask on. Pumina? What's the
Purim.
Purim,
Purim.
sorry.
So
Are those bigger
that's
holidays in Jewish culture?
I don't know if Purim is bigger, but it's definitely more fun because it's sort of like a Jewish Halloween where everybody dresses up and there's a big story and it's partying. And I think it's the one Jewish holiday where adults are supposed to get really drunk. That's part of it.
Like St.
Um,
Patrick's Day, the big thing about the holiday is getting drunk. All right.
but the more serious holidays, Passover is a big deal, and then Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, which comes right after it, which is the Day of Atonement. So those are the very, very serious holidays.
Okay, well, cool. Well, and I love that these girls, it's something important to them. At this time in their life, holiday and learning about their roots and their religion, even if it's something that they're adopted into, it's a part of their roots, this family that they're a part of. And so I love this representation here. So tell us about developing this and what was important to each of you. We'll have Marissa go first. Tell us about what you wanted to make sure to include in this story with representation on Christmas.
Yeah, so given that it is a holiday story, and I do really love this time of year, I wanted the book to be so joyful. I mean, we wanted the shenanigans, we wanted the fun. We do go a little bit deeper with the sister relationship, and also their relationships with their grandparents. Aviva and Holly each have a grandparent that they're really close to, and so there's some stuff to deal with aging and fear of losing a loved one. So it's not like all fun and games the entire time.
There's
But
got to
for
be some
me,
conflict here, some problems going on.
absolutely, it's still a book. You still need, something driving the story. But I really, really wanted this to be a happy book. And I think we accomplished that. It's a lot of holiday joy. I loved getting to work in some of my personal favorite traditions, both from when I was a kid and now with my own family. Things like going to the Christmas tree farm and cutting down a Christmas tree and just different things. And so that was kind of one of the things that we both approached this like we want to highlight these two holidays and what is great about them and what do we love about them.
That's so fun. I love when we were talking about problem too, that the twins had some really real things that they had to deal with that it was like, this is hard. You've got to respect that I'm like this, or this is hard. Like they realized really quickly that, it's not just all fun to all of a sudden have a sister and a best friend that, you're going to have little times where you butt heads. So I like that
Having
that was
twins, I
included.
know all about the butting of the heads.
Yes, I thought that was good representation too. It made a good, strong conflict in there too. So, Joanne, what was something that you just loved including in the book for a representation of your holiday?
The food,
Yes,
so much food.
food is so important always.
Yeah, if you don't walk away from this book being hungry for latkes and brisket and all that good stuff, then, I didn't do my job. Um,
Yes.
I just, my mom was such a big cook and her love language was food and she would make these dinners where there was no fewer than three meats. I mean, they were feasts. I do have three older brothers, so there was a lot of eating going on, but I just wanted to insert all that food. It's sort of, my little nod to her. Um, yeah, it's just, we always gather around the dinner table. And I know a lot of families do that, but we always did, and that was sort of where I just felt at home and loved, and that's where the joy is.
Yes, I love that representation. I'd love to do just a reading with kids and say at the end of each one, we're gonna eat the food from the book. Like I really want to
The
do
best.
the
That's
minced
what book clubs
pie,
are meant for, is right? Is
right?
eating the food.
The food, yes. We need to do that with some Christmassy, holiday themed books, and I've never had latkes, did I say it right?
Latkes.
Latkes. So I've never
Yeah,
had these. So that would be such a fun time to
they're,
experience.
they're
I
really
also had
good.
never had them. And when Joanne and I were writing this book together, the girls and I did plan a Hanukkah feast. And so we made brisket and we made latkes, and that was the first time I'd ever had them. It was really
Good.
fun.
Are they fried? I love
Mhm.
like when I've tried to eat healthier, that's actually been my harder thing than not sugar is not oil. I love the grease.
Well, Hanukkah is not. the holiday for you because the whole thing is everything needs to be fried. So,
Oh, I love it. That is, I think, yes. I
yeah.
think I love that even more than sweets. I went back to my to I jumped off my healthy eating for a while, that I was like, maybe we'll try again in January. It's
All
important,
things
but
in balance, right?
yes, I'm trying that. I do not do very good at like sometimes on things. So I'm like, I just need to eat it all or not any, which is unfortunate. Portion control. So let's see if I can bring this back. Talking about control, what was something that was hard when you guys were working together? Were there any roadblocks as the book developed? What was a hard part about working together?
I'm sorry to say, not really.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's not a very exciting story, but we seemed to get in a groove and we worked so well together. And we started with an outline and we agreed upon the outline. And Marissa took Holly and I took Aviva for the most part. And we just went ahead and wrote, and it just worked.
Hmm.
Awesome.
I think the only road bump we had, which was about this big,
Right?
was actually when the twins swap homes.
Right.
So of course I was writing Holly and Joanne was
Yes.
writing Aviva. And then they switch homes, and I think each of us got through like one chapter after the swap, and we're like, I have no idea
Oh,
what's going on. Like Holly is with this new family. They're celebrating Hanukkah. She's walked into this feast. There's something about candles. I don't know what's going on.
right.
And so we emailed each other. I was like, what would you say about taking Holly and I'll take Aviva? And we went from there and it worked out great.
Okay, so then you switched who's
Hmm.
writing which part. So it's not through the whole book that one is Aviva and one is Holly. You took a little while that it was like, let's just switch because I know this holiday.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's
exactly.
cool because
Yeah.
as a reader, it was still very well represented. It flowed very well through the whole thing. But
Thank you. We did a
I
lot of
like that
editing back
initiative.
and forth of each other's characters. But by that point we kind of knew the characters so well. Like it just went really smoothly.
Yeah, it was just tweaks here and there for voice, but yeah, even our agents said it was seamless. So
Nice. So
mission
I'm
accomplished.
guessing that might be the answer to our next question, but what is just something you're really excited about how it came together? Is that the answer? Did you just answer my question after before I asked?
how how it came together. Well, I just love how much joy we had writing it.
Mhm.
It
Yes,
was so much fun, and I think it comes across on the page, but we just can't stop talking about how much fun we had.
that's so good.
Yeah, it kind of became a secondary goal. You know, if writing the book is the first goal, the secondary goal was trying to make each other laugh during
Yes.
the writing process. And in we'd work in Google Docs, and on the sidebar you can leave notes for each other. And so it's like every day I'd post my chapter and I'd be looking for Joanne to come back with that LOL, like come on, I can get it out of her.
That that brings my heart so much joy because that's what I'm trying so much when I communicate with people trying to find books, whether it be a teacher or a parent or a librarian, that especially if somebody's hesitant about something like a graphic novel or something, that it's like the first and foremost thing for any child in reading is that they love it. We just want them to enjoy it first. So I love that that's what the thing for you guys is, just loving the writing process because then it will transfer. So that's so
Yeah.
beautiful to hear that just all that fun that you guys had in putting it together. Love it so much. Let's see, is there anything else you guys want to add?
Hmm. I love that your name is Karen Reader.
I do love that. When I
I
married
mean,
my
it,
husband, I have always wanted to be a writer. I didn't expect to kind of take this current trajectory to recommend books, but yes. I asked him if we could switch it to spell it Reader.
it sounds the same. It sounds the same.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks. Oh, that's fun. So I do have a question though on names. Did you've only written middle grade, right, Joanne, or have you delved
Yes.
into anything else? And you've just written young adult. Was there ever a moment that you were like, should we do a different pen name? Because I've seen authors, usually it's more when they go from adult. to kids.
Mm,
Have you ever considered pen names in any of your writing?
no, no.
No, I mean, if I was going to go, I've tinkered with the idea of writing adult romance, but I don't know. We'll see if it ever
If
comes
it
to
ever
that.
happens.
Yeah.
Well, and middle grade is just such a fun place to be. I love it. I love just this last interview I finished today. We talked about just that it's so wonderful that it ends on hope usually. Most middle grade books and with something hope or that the message is something inspiring and I love that through all the trials that there are some very real struggle and let it glow, but in the end it just glows with
Yeah,
lots of feel good.
Thank
that's what
you.
we were going for.
Thank
Love it.
you.
Well, mission accomplished.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, I love to ask at the end of my interviews, what is one of your favorite children's books to recommend to other people?
So Marissa and I were talking yesterday about our favorite books because we were doing an episode of her podcast all
Yes.
about gift giving for the holidays. And so this one is fresh in my mind. It's
Yeah.
Holes by Louis Sachar.
Yes.
And I just I just got chills even thinking about it. This book is middle grade perfection.
Mm.
I didn't have the privilege of reading it as a middle grader. I'm a little older. Um, but I know I would have loved it as a kid. But as a writer, I so appreciate everything in it. It's just so perfect. And it's the kind of writing that I absolutely aspire to. Fun for kids, smart, funny, a lot of heart, but some serious stuff in there too.
Mhm.
So I
Yes.
just, yeah, I cannot recommend it enough.
And it's such a unique kind of a storyline that, that backstory and just ridiculousness too of like the name and the treasure. It's so fun. And I last year for middle grade March, have you guys heard of middle grade March? The girls that they come up with like five themes of things
Mhm.
that you read about for middle grade books, and one of them was a book that you missed out on. And so my last year that was Holes. I'd never read Holes before,
Mm.
and Brandon Mull, that was his recommendation. So this is actually my first time, Joanne, that two authors have recommended a same book. And so I was like, I had never read it. I needed to get to it, and it was
It's
just. I
incredible.
loved it, and my husband was like, I just didn't feel it in the movie, and I was like, that's because the book is always better than the movie, and so
You
you need
can't judge
feel
the
it
book by
more
the
if you
movie.
read book because I've been trying to pitch to him books to read to our kids because he doesn't read to my kids unless it's Harry Potter.
Mm.
Mm.
And he's read it to my oldest and then to my second, and now my third is almost 9. And so they're working their way through it. And then the older go and join in. And so I'm trying to pick other books and he's like, it's just so perfect because then there's a movie. And I was like, there's lots of books with movies. Trying to get him on board for Holtz. I'm like, it's because you haven't read
It's
the book,
so good. It's so good.
right?
We read it to my girls
Brilliant.
last year and they loved it.
Right. And it
Because like
does.
Joanne says, it's pretty much perfection.
Right? I imagine it would make such a great read aloud.
Hmm.
Myself, but yeah, so there.
Yeah.
Marissa says, great read aloud. So, all right, Marissa, what have you got for us?
So I'm gonna highlight one that I'm actually reading to my kids right now, which means
Oh,
we have not finished it yet, but it is The Sherlock Society by
yes.
James Ponti. Oh, have you read this one?
Do you know what I did? I read it as an advanced reader copy, and I've got his City Spies behind me as well. And yeah,
We have City Spies. We haven't read that one yet.
yes.
It's so good. It's one of these books it's fast paced, it's action, but also I also homeschool my mom, so I'm always have this little homeschool or I homeschool my kids.
My
So
mom.
I always have this homeschooling mom brain going
Yes.
on.
Yes.
And like this is one of those books where even though it's so fun and they have no idea
Yes.
they're learning about like so much stuff, like journalism and all of these like real world mysteries. And I mean, it's really, really great.
Yes, and it's got the silly, and I love the adult factor in it. Though he's not entirely a responsible adult, this
Yeah,
grandpa.
the grandpa, no, he's hilarious.
He's such a great tie-in because sometimes it just like adventure is so much of kids going and thinking they need to save the world without any adult involvement. So I loved from a parent perspective that there's some adult involvement here,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if it's not 100% positive like the mom might wish in the book. But they are so fun. Yes. James Ponti definitely has a wonderful way with my son loves to go through Rick Riordan's books, but he gets going slow. And I don't know what it is that, and other books, he loves fantasy so much, but he gets kind of stuck. And so he'll pick it for his quarter book read, and then he's behind, and I make him listen to the audio to keep pace if he falls behind when it's due. And he has never had the problem with City Spies when he picks
Mhm.
a Ponte book. And I think
Yeah. No, it's very fast paced for
yes,
sure.
so fun. All right. Well, thank you so much. I just love it. Thank you for getting on and talking to us. Thank you for working together. I'm so glad, Marissa, that you jumped on that eventually,
So am I. So
right?
Go
am
team.
It did come together so beautifully when I was at Barnes and Noble. I don't often get inside bookstores, but there were several copies of Let It Glow sitting there,
Oh,
and I
good.
loved your shimmery one. I didn't notice if the ones on the shelf were so shimmery. They're so pretty.
I know.
So,
I don't think Barnes and Noble got this one. You might have better look at an indie. Find
yeah,
the
I
fancy
don't think they
copies.
have the shimmery one. I
Mhm.
didn't purchase it there yet, so I don't know. My oldest doesn't discriminate between female characters, so I could probably get that on my shelf and appeal to him.
I?
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
and happy holidays.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.